For the 57th year, nearly 600 passionate amateur racers have gathered to select their national champions under a unique format. One race, winner take all. And for the first time in 7 years, their stage is America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Welcome to the Sports Car Club of America Runoffs, our broadcast presented by Mazda. After a weekend of bright sunshine and warm temperatures, it is overcast and cold here at Road America and the 57th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by Hagerty. I'm Bob Varsha with Larry McLeod. Tom O'Gorman is down in the pit lane, and we are ready for the GT2 category. Let's get the backstory now down in the pit lane with Hayward Wagner.
Good morning, guys. Tom here, and I want to pull the curtain back a little bit on the runoffs weekend so far. This is Hagerty race day number 3. We've already had 2 days of racing, and the cars on the front row appear in a lot of different categories: Phoenix Performance and Fall Line Motorsports. In Touring 1, a couple of days ago, a Phoenix Performance mechanical failure handed the lead over to Mark Bowden from Fall Line Motorsports. A little bit later that day, a mechanical failure for Kurt Resitano in Touring 2 handed the lead over to Mark Bowden from Fall Line Motorsports. Once again, these drivers are on the front row. Andrew Aquilani on pole in last year's winning car, and Mark Bowden from Fall Line Motorsports probably is getting a little used to watching the black and yellow cars pull off to the side with mechanical failures. Andrew Aquilani wants a win on this weekend so badly for the Phoenix Performance team. Last note, there is a little bit of a tire deficit in these amongst these cars. The Porsche, sitting second place with Mark Bowden, is on full racing slick Michelins versus the Hoosier soft compound DOT race tire on the on the Corvette and the Viper in first and third.
Thank you, Tom, and my apologies. There you see the field already on track, ready to go. 20 cars strong. Here's a look at the way they will line up. Andrew Aquilani from Chester Springs, Pennsylvania is our tire rack pole sitter in his Chevy Corvette with a new qualifying lap record for the class. Next to him, another man who went under the old mark, Mark Bowden from Winnetka, Illinois, in his Porsche 991 Cup car. On row 2, Jonathan Start from Caledonia, Michigan, in a Dodge Viper ACRX. Next to Cliff White from Huntsville, Alabama, in an M1 Race Cars TA2. Row 3, Brad McAllister from Sherwood, Oregon, in a Ford Mustang. And Rhett Barkow from Freeport, Illinois, in a Dodge Challenger. On row 4, Tom Patton from Fairfield Township, Ohio, in a Sunbeam Tiger, believe it or not. Alongside Thomas Herb from Barrington, Illinois, in a Porsche 991 GT3 Cup car. On row 5, Scotty B. White from Auburn, Washington, in a Dodge Viper competition coupe. And Thomas West from Standish, Maine, in a Chevy Camaro. Row 6, Pete Peterson from Lumberton, North Carolina, in a Toyota Celica. And Darren Dilley from Hillsboro, Oregon, in a Mazda RX-7. Row 7, Ollie Thordarson from Trabuco Canyon, California. That's a tongue twister. He's in a Chevy Corvette next to Jorge Nazario from San Juan, Puerto Rico, in another Vette. On row 8, Jim Valdez from Denver, Colorado, in a BMW E46 M3, and Patrick Utt from Riverview, Florida, in a Chevy Camaro. Row 9, Terry Giles from Avon Lake, Ohio, in a Nissan 350Z, and Timothy Gray from Minneapolis, Minnesota, in a Ford Mustang. And on the 10th row, Tom Stanford from Orland Park, Illinois, in a Chevy Camaro, and Andrew Wright from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, in another Sunbeam Tiger. Now, the qualifying awards to this point have been split between 2 drivers. There's the Day 1 Sunoco 260 Tuesday Award, 10 gallons of gas to the driver who posts a qualifying time that ends in 3 digits to the right of the decimal that are closest to 260. That winner, Andrew Wright, whose qualifying time on Day 1 of 232.249 was just a bit outside. And then on Day 2, Hawk Brakes gave its Hawk Breakthrough Award and a new set of pads to the driver who had the biggest improvement from Day 1 to Day 2. Again, that man was Andrew Wright. So he completes the qualifying award sweep. All he missed was the tire rack pole. As you see, Wright is starring caboose on the field. The tire rack pole sitter, Andrew Aquilani, is at the other end of the grid and will lead the field away when we get to start-finish. Larry McLeod is with me, as I mentioned earlier, and this is a tremendous mix of cars, so we expect some pretty diverse action.
It's good. This mix of cars, and as Tomo referred to it, the mix of tires is going to play a part. Those A7 tires on that beautiful black Corvette that Aquilante is driving, those Hoosier A7s will come in quickly. He will go out and he will be climbing curbs early and often, as he always does. He's going to try and break the backs of the cars behind him. Mark Bowden in those Michelins, he's going to be looking for the long game. The last thing Bowden's going to want to see is a full course yellow in this race. He wants us to go the distance, and he's got to be hoping that somehow the tires fall off for Aquilante. But with this conditions, those A7s are going to be tough to beat. One note about that Corvette that Aquilante is driving: a year ago, it made its maiden voyage at VIR and led start to finish, and the first time it ever touched pavement there. The car didn't finish the cool-down lap. It was tuned perfectly for the length of that race. It's back out here again, and I'm sure it wants to take its checker lap, but it's going to be a long race, and Bowden and the field are looking to push it right through.
It's great to see. Supercars up front. Where else are you going to go to see two Sunbeam Tigers in action on the racetrack? One of my favorite cars ever. But down to business. Everyone going for the gold here at Road America. The safety car is off. Record-breaking qualifiers Andrew Aquilante and Mark Bowden will lead the field to the green. Buckle up, folks. This should be a good one. Green is out. Look at the front row jump away from those behind.
And Bowden will do anything he can to try and stay with Andrew into this first turn, but the Viper is the one on the move.
Jonathan Start in the white Viper trying down the inside. He won't get there, but he will find himself in third place behind Aquilante, who will lead into three. Yes, he does.
And there you get the 24, Brett McAllister, in one of our TA2 Trans Am Series cars. They are also in this field, as is the Dodge Challenger there of Red Barcow. So the Trans Am TA2 cars plug right into this field to mix it up with some of the cars like the Aquilante and those fall line Porsches.
Down the Moraine sweep. 2,600 plus feet long. Top speed before you're hard on the brakes for this left-hander in turn 5. Up the hill to the blind, over a brow, turn 6. A fast sweeper in turn 7 into the part of the track known as Hurry Downs. Steeply downhill to turn 8, and then a left turn into the famous carousel.
It's part of the track. Sometimes the cameras just don't do it justice to the elevation changes here. You're sitting at the top of the hill there at 7. You look all the way down, and even this the carousel section, it really does drop away as these cars go through it. These big, heavy monsters with horsepower really are struggling for grip here on these early laps in cold tires.
I think that's the first Dodge Challenger we've seen all weekend. That bright orange machine for Red Barcow.
These TA2 cars are about 500 horsepower is what the rules set them up for in the TA2 class. They're all going to be pretty equal with the Mustangs and those Challengers, but they're going to have their hands full with these Porsche Cup cars and then the individual builds like Aquilante's out front or the Viper.
The only more powerful class would be the GT1, way up over 800 horsepower, true Trans Am cars, but we saw a tremendous amount of attrition in that particular race. We'll see if the same rule applies here, although the weather conditions are completely different.
One of the cars that seems to keep running and running and running is Tiger Tom Patton right there in the old Sunbeam Tiger. Beautiful machine. He's been running this car essentially nearly every year since 1983 in this GT2 class. A couple of years here and there he might have missed, but the 1999 champion in this class, he continues to run.
98 of Pete Peterson.
Another former champion, 7 times a winner, nearly always in Toyotas, running that Celica.
No fewer than 6 gold medalists in this class. Ooh, be careful using that outer curb.
Aquilante starting to break some backs here as he's starting to pull away, and Bowden's just trying to hold off the 51 of Jonathan Start behind him.
Flame spewing from the exhaust.
They're sliding around a little bit there, come to the apex at 5.
great looking cars, great sounding cars.
Yes, they are. Just to see this field. Just to see the field here with the Corvettes, the Porsche, the Viper, the Mustang, the Challenger, your front five right now. So different. And these cold temperatures and all of these giant slick tires, and now we're getting reports there may be just a hint of a cool mist in the air.
Oh my gosh. I take full responsibility because I predicted the weather would be great all weekend.
This is great. This makes for great racing.
Well, think about this. A 4-mile long racetrack like some of the great circuits around the world, Spa-Francorchamps and the like, it can be raining on one part of the racetrack and not on another, which really makes things interesting.
Some of this may not even hit the ground. It's just sort of that mist that almost like that fog that just sort of rolls in and doesn't ever reach the surface, but gets a little on your windshield maybe. Just makes you think about it.
Well, it's a general rule through racing that once the tires are hot, they can take a little bit of rain without much of a problem.
And for Aquilante running those Hoosier A7s, they love this cold weather. This is exactly what they want. The harder compound ones behind them, they kind of were wishing for one of those 80-degree days. They right now aren't getting it.
Terminal velocity on the straightaway approaching 160 miles an hour. As these cars burn off fuel, get let. Oh, huge contact in the run down to 3. It's Cliff White and Jonathan Start in the Dodge Viper. And Brad McAllister's Ford Mustang. That was a massive impact.
It's Peterson there.
What's going on?
Looks more mechanical than anything else.
He's running in 10th place. I wonder if he hit something. Is there any damage? You can't tell from the back of the car.
And then off to the left there, I'm seeing what might be the taillight of a Sunbeam Tiger. I'm worried that might be the Tiger Tail Pat. Again, waiting to see if that might have been. So attrition setting in here. Yeah, I do think that is Tom Patton. He was there at the exit of 6 just before 7.
Well, as the action continues, we'll take a break and return for more to straighten things out here at Road America. Back at Road America, the GT2 National Championship race is right now firmly in the hands of the number 33 Chevy Corvette of Andrew Aquilante from Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. He led from his tire rack pole position, and he has a handy lead as he comes around to complete lap 3, begin lap 4 of 13 with a 40-minute absolute time limit. You can see from that haze, which is curtained off the beautiful fall colors here in Wisconsin. There is either rain or at least a mist in the distance.
Well, this will bring the field back together right here.
Full course caution.
And Aquilante's tires will be able to get cool again, and Bowden and the likes behind him on the harder tires will be working to try and keep some heat in them. And those TA2 tires, they're on the spec tire for the Trans Am TA2 cars. They're going to be also working to keep some heat in them.
So while we're under this full course caution, we'll take the opportunity to step away and return with more of the GT2 National Championship class from the SCCA Runoffs. Today's broadcast of the SCCA Runoffs is brought to you by Mazda. Feel alive.
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
It's happening more often, and that's not surprising. people are getting lost to find themselves. And discovering the best part is often hidden in the journey along the way. The first ever CX-30. Performance that inspires with available iActive all-wheel drive.
Still under a full course caution here at Road America as we continue with the GT2 National Championship, the 22nd of 26 national champions who will be crowned here this weekend. Bob Varsha along with Larry McLeod. Tom O'Gorman is in the pits. Andrew Aquilante is on the lead here over Mark Bowden. Bowden's an interesting case. He is one of the drivers in line for a possible super sweep, which is a huge achievement in SCCA competition. You must win your class in the Hoosier Super Series championship within a championship. Bowden has done that with 6 victories. You must also win a majors championship in one of the various SCCA conferences around the country. He did that. He's the Northern Conference champion. And then the hardest task of all, Bowden has to win this one winner-take-all race for the GT2 National Championship. Right now, he runs in second place to Andrew Aquilante. And from what we saw, Larry, early on, he's got his hands full with Aquilante. That's a really quick Corvette.
It really is. And so I say, as this race got started, I was mentioning that Andrew personally built this car originally intended for the T1 class that he was planning on, decided to put this into the GT2 category here. A couple of tweaks to make that happen, and it had not touched pavement until we got to VIR 1 year ago. Went out there and was able to lead flag to flag. And this year, all they've done is there was a little bit of balance and performance that was put out there. Got the car out on track here, and he's been super fast all week long. And as you saw in those opening laps, he's tough, really, really tough to catch. But Mark Bowden, always consistent, comes in here to this year's runoffs. He had 29 previous starts, always around the podium, had 15 podiums coming in, but as this week has unfolded, I believe he's gone home with a couple of more gold medals already. He came in with 2, picked one up last year, picked up a couple more already. He's looking to add to that collection. He's just a tough competitor to beat. As the head of the fall line team, his cars are always some of the best prep cars in the field. But behind him, he's got some championship contenders there behind him. You look at McAllister there behind him. McAllister was second in his class 2 years ago at Sonoma. You look at Rhett Barkow. He won FE2 last year, and that's going from an open wheel spec car with wings. And then you've got third spot there is Cliff White. He won the SRF class a couple of times, so he's jumped from Spec Ford. You got a guy that jumped from FE2 into this group. So you've got pedigree up and down this top 5 right now, all trying to chase down Andrew Aquilante, and Andrew Aquilante is chasing history. He comes in with 9 championships, and he's on about his 4th try to try and get that 10th, and he just seems to be eluding him. And if he can get it in this car, it'll be extra sweet for him, but he's got all of about 8 more laps that he's got to muscle his way around to do it.
The laps continue to count under this full course caution. You saw the white flag from the flag stand, meaning there are safety vehicles on the course. All the drivers in various incidents that brought out the full course caution are accounted for. You saw the words "No es fácil" racing on the nose of one of those cars. And I'm guessing that would be our friend, could it be Jorge Nazario from San Juan?
I suspect it might be.
Now there is the car involved in the biggest accident. Number 51, Jonathan Start from Caledonia, Michigan. He got out of the car, which was great to see. But as you can see from the wreckage, that was a massive hit.
Yeah, the cage, the safety equipment doing its work. He hops out of the car. Obviously, the bodywork coming off is part of the deal, but you know, everything else did its job as intended. The track workers doing what they can to just get the car all cleaned up and everything, and then when they do, we'll get ourselves back underway. But good to hear the driver's out of the car, under his own, and off to get a quick checkup before he's released.
They're going to have to go find that right rear wheel assembly, which departed the car. That's how hard that car went into the tire wall.
Shows you the speed and the way this place is. You know, coming down there after turn 1, you're still carrying a lot of speed. Coming down that hill to turn 3, And again, you sometimes on these cameras on TV, you don't really see the elevation changes. But when you get out here and you stand at the bottom of the hill at turn 3, and you're over there getting your bratwurst at the snack stand at turn 3, and you look up at that hill to the Briggs and Stratton Bridge, and you realize exactly how fast you come down there and how much it drops down to. 2 cars go through there, and it's a bit of a bent straightaway, and if you put a tire in that grass, it can bite you pretty hard.
Well, there's no question Road America has seen so much history. It is a very difficult racetrack. It's beautiful, to be sure, but it is a huge challenge for these cars. So much full throttle running, so much hard work in the gearbox as you slow the cars down for turns like this one. Turn 5 reached at the terminal velocity, which for this class is approaching 160 miles an hour. Blind left-hander over a brow here at turn 6. Another long straightaway featuring the infamous and tricky kink, which has claimed more than one race car here at these runoffs.
The theme for the drivers to talk about this place is you do all this work to catch someone in the draft, but all it takes is one late break, one missed turn in at one of these corners, and they're all followed by a significant straightaway, and that work is gone, and you've got to work at it again to get it back. You can't just latch on to somebody and stick with them like some drafting tracks. This is not you look at it and think it's all drafting, and it's really not. The technicality of some of these corners take a lot of work to get through them each and every single corner, because each one counts, all followed by a straightaway. And as soon as you lose the draft of the car in front of you, you just helped the draft of the car behind you. And even in these 500 horsepower Camaros and Mustangs and Corvettes and Porsches, the draft does mean something to these cars, and you're going to be prey to the one behind you if you give up one corner.
This is the carousel. You can see the differences in the pavement, but all of it, virtually, with the exception of a few patches, has seen more than its share of racing. And as a racetrack surface matures and it develops, a bump here or a loose piece of pavement there, here it's slick, there it's grippy. Those are the speed secrets that every driver really wants to master before taking on Road America.
Yeah, that little bit of character that a track like this has. And as we were mentioning, as we were still under the full green and the speeds were going, we were talking about that little bit of a mist that gets in the air, and you see the painted curbs out here. All it takes is to not recognize that little bit of mist gets on those curbs and on that paint first. It's the first place where you lose that grip. If you go into a braking zone and you've got your tires on one side of your car on the slippery paint, the other side on grip, you've now find yourself facing the wrong direction pretty fast.
All those tire streaks there in the kink, you could see that corner in particular has swallowed up its share of race cars. More of the same down here in Canada Corner.
You can see these TA2 cars, which are essentially the Mustangs there, and then the fall line Porsches, which are the Porsche Cup cars that are on the slightly harder tires. They are working those tires through this full course yellow behind that safety car. They are doing everything they can to keep heating them, whereas Andrew Aquilante is just barely rolling along. He wants his tires as cold as he can get them before the restart. And then there's Andrew Wright in that beautiful Sunbeam Tiger. I love the Tiger wrap paint scheme there on the back of that car. It is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, you can see the ones that have the harder tires are working them. Andrew, who has the softer tires, is not working them, and that's all part of the strategy here, because when they go green, looks like they get at least another lap behind the safety car. But when they do go green, everyone's going to want to try and get that dive into one. And if anybody can somehow get around Andrew, it's going to make for a very interesting turn 3 down to the run to 5, because suddenly they'll control the race. As soon as Andrew gets out to the front and he's in control with the softer tires, he's going to be a tough competitor to get around and to beat.
This track was the vision of one man, Cliff Tufte, whose name is all over the place in one form or another. It was his idea to build a racetrack, one of the first permanent racing circuits for road course racing here in the United States. It opened in September of 1955. Terrific race won by Phil Hill, who would go on to become America's first Formula One world champion for Ferrari in 1961. But over the years, virtually every major series in the world, with the exception of Formula One, I should add, have raced here at Road America, including great SCCA associated series like Formula 5000, Trans Am, Can-Am, and so on. Sports cars, even motorcycles. AMA racing has gone on here for years. is a driver favorite and a real test of both man and machine, to use an old cliche.
And it's up there in the what I would consider the 4 pillars of racetracks in the U.S. with Laguna Seca, Road Atlanta, and Watkins Glen. And all of them have ties to the history of SCCA, with the Glen hosting the first SCCA race ever. And the other 2, of course, have got long histories with the Runoffs, Laguna Seca having hosted it just a couple of years ago, Road Atlanta being the home for decades of this championship event. And here at Road America now hosting it back for these years, after those years back in 09 to 2013. It just feels like home coming here. And to me, I think this is what it's all about. Today's crisp fall, cool day. And here we are at the Runoffs. You can kind of forget what's going on in the rest of this year, and it just feels, for a moment, a little bit of normal again.
No question. And one of the local celebrities is my old friend and colleague, David Hobbs, who won 2 SCCA-related championships in Formula 5000 open-wheel cars and Trans Am full-bodied cars. He and his wife, Margaret, who's an artist, own a home here in the little village of Elkhart Lake, and have for many years. They spend their summer months up here. And David is here this weekend selling copies of his autobiography.
We should have gotten him in the broadcast booth. Now that would have been fun.
Well, you know, normally I would totally agree with you, but David just had a knee replaced recently, so he is not exactly a world-class sprinter. It's hard for him to get around.
Yeah. Well, I wish him well in his recovery.
He's getting better every day. And when I say local celebrity, David is the king of Elkhart Lake.
Every single day goes by, he forgets more about motorsports than I've ever learned, seen, or thought about.
Well, I'm certainly proud to call him a friend, and he was a great racer in his day.
Yes, he was. Always fun to listen to you guys, too. Oh,
thank you.
That was some of the best broadcasts ever.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say great to listen to these cars, which is what I was doing. I was about to totally agree with you. So
we can definitely agree on that as well. But we've got a mixture of cars, right? We've got the V8s, we have the V10, we've got a rotary in this field, we've got the flat sixes and the Porsches. We've actually got a variety of sounds. We've got the straight sixes. We've got a lot of different sounds out there. But out in the front, classic American V8 in that C7 Corvette. That's really been Andrew's baby. If you don't know much about Andrew Aquilante, he built this car himself. He's not just the driver, he is the mechanic. The second generation of this Aquilante family. You know, Joe, the dad, he really leads this Phoenix Performance team, and all of the drivers are also all mechanics. They all work on their own equipment. Andrew himself, you go over there and he's not a prima donna driver by any means. You go over there and he's completely covered elbow to elbow, all in grease, all the time. At some point he puts the tools down, puts on the gloves and the helmet, and goes out and drives. He drives very well.
He is a unique story, but having said that, there are a lot of those kinds of stories. SCCA club racing members typically work on their own cars. They have day jobs. They save their time. There is the statue unveiled this weekend of Mr. Road America, Cliff Tufty, who always wore his fedora at that jaunty ankle. In fact, it was David Hobbs who was telling me what it was like to come here in the 1960s and 70s. Cliff Tufty, who promoted races at the track that he built here on land owned by his Elkhart Lake Sand and Gravel Company. And Tufty always had a big smile from everyone.
We appreciate his vision and his hard work to make this happen, because this place is a fantastic track and it's a fantastic facility to come to. It really is. You go to some tracks that people talk about and say, well, it's a great track, but the facility is, you come here and it's world class. It's beautiful.
Yeah. There's been a lot of improvement over the years. It is a spectacular place. Some 400 to 450 events per year take place. Not all of them motorsports related.
I was thinking about doing some disc golf, actually. There's
there
a whole disc golf course around here First time I came up here and I started walking through, I think it was up at the hill between 5 and 6. I was going to play around.
Disc golf. In the breeze that we've been feeling over the last couple of days, that would be a challenge. This Kettle Moraine, if you're not familiar with it, is where the Ice Age glaciers deposited lots of loose rocks and stones. Great aggregate for building roads and railroad beds and so forth, which is what Cliff Tufte's company did here in eastern Wisconsin. But can you imagine walking over all these loose rocks and stones to lay out a 4-mile racetrack? There are some great pictures on the internet you can find about the early construction and where the bulldozers plowed. And thanks go out to all of the members of the Chicago region of the SCCA, because it was their investment, their donations primarily, that got this track built for the towering sum of $175,000. Try that today.
How money has changed. Well, where they're coming here into turn 3 and this back straight, if you go and you walk just on the high side, on the inside of the right side of back straight there's a long run of these rock walls down there, and I suspect that is some of the original rock that came out of this Kettle Moraine. And you get a really good feel for what this place must have been like as they were moving the rocks to create this beautiful track.
Yeah, you can actually see it. If you go down to turn 1 and go all the way to the fence beyond the corner, you get to the edge of the property and you can look over, or used to be able to, maybe all overgrown now. And beyond turn 1, there is a section of bare terminal moraine, as it's called, which is essentially a quarry.
Great place to watch right there. And you can see just on the hill on the right side of those trees, they got a couple of grandstands set up. You can really see the action coming in there. Now with the modernization, they've got the big screens you can kind of watch. And even from there, you go a little further up the hill, they got a grandstand there to get your rock burst. And from there, you can see the entry to 5, exit to 5. You peek over the hill, and you can see then the coming out of Bill Mitchell Bend, 13 through 14, and up the front straight. It's a great place to spectate from. Grab a beer and a brat, just watch it all.
Absolutely. I first came here in the early 80s to cover IMSA sports car racing. And just recently, the SCCA and IMSA announced a combined effort aimed at connecting with race fans to help develop the next generation of not only drivers, but mechanics and administrators and track workers and volunteers and so on. The two organizations are partnering to foster the next generation of those crews, developing a clear path for involvement in both amateur and professional U.S. road racing. You should know, just about any race you watch on a road course around the United States, the corner workers are SCCA-trained active members. This cooperative effort between SCCA and IMSA includes a new SCCA Got Me Started campaign highlighting how various SCCA members, and there's a lot of names you'll recognize if you're a race fan, first became engaged in motorsports on their way to professional involvement with IMSA. So keep an eye out for more. The program was just announced, and developments TBA.
We talk a lot about the drivers and the teams and the sponsors and things, the partners that go on. But if you peek around the track and you see those folks in the full whites that stand out here for 14 hours a day, they are the heart and soul of this. They are the absolute core of what goes on around here. And they are some of the craziest personalities you will ever meet. They are a blast to hang around with. To learn what makes those people tick is, if you can figure out what makes them tick, let me know. But they're a lot of fun to hang with, I'll tell you that.
Safety car pulls off. Finally, we are track clear and ready to go racing once again here in the GT2 class of the SCCA National Runoffs. Andrew Aquilante in his Corvette will lead away, followed by Mark Bowden, Brad McAllister, Rhett Barkow, and Cliff White.
It's going to be interesting. Can anybody get around Andrew in turn 1 and force him then to be the chaser? And it looks like that answer is yes.
Well, Aquilante's not going to give it up easily there, door to door. Here comes, oh, and Bowden is off hard into the tire wall at turn 2.
Might be able to continue, but that definitely was a significant impact.
That kind of a crowd of cars, you have to assume he got an assist off the racetrack in the jockeying, but that remains to be seen. Meanwhile, that leaves Aquilante up front.
McAllister's going to do everything he can out of pressure. For a moment there, he had the advantage, was not able to get a good car position. Aquilante, maybe a little bit better tire, was able to outbrake him into one and get the position back. And now leads him through 6.
But from behind, you can see there's a lot of tire under that Corvette and various other cars in this field. Oh, and there's a different car. I was going to say there was Bowden for a second, but that's 69 Terry Gilles, excuse me, from Avon Lake, Ohio. Aquilante continues. We are still green. Here's another look at the Bowden replay. Watch the blue Porsche to the far left.
He might have been all by himself a little bit there.
No contact at all. You're right.
Yeah, just maybe, again, the tire's not quite warm enough, and he's looking at traffic around him a little bit. Maybe a little bit restricted on where he wanted to go on the outside. He did have a car on his outside and unable to do that, and the Porsche just swapped ends on him.
The car he had to his outside was this guy, Cliff White. He went from 5th on the restart to 2nd. But it would appear that Andrew Aquilante, as you pointed out, is going to be a hard man to catch. And as they say in racing, catching is one thing, passing is something else.
Andrew's back into back-braking mode at this point. He's going to go back and climb every curb. He's going to hit every mark. We might now be closer to time finish than lap finish. It's going to be really close to whether or not they see a 13th lap, as we've got under 10 minutes. Just finishing lap, or starting lap 9.
Actually, they're on lap 8. You're right, they're not going to get to the full 13 laps.
Great shot of Rhett Barkow in that TA2 challenge. Rhett Barkow, she was defending champ in FE2, which is an open wheel spec class, deciding to jump from that, which is the other end of the spectrum when it comes to the weight and tire and size of a vehicle. And right now running in 4th. Pretty good run so far.
Excuse me, I put Cliff White 2nd earlier. It's actually Brad McAllister in 2nd. You couldn't see him in the picture. Cliff White was 3rd. And Rhett Barkow in that great-looking Dodge Challenger.
Andrew managing his gap at this point. Now he's kind of staying off the curbs, which is interesting. Oh, we're going back.
Too many cars littering the grass verge, perhaps? And if so, if that's the reason for this full course caution, it's going to take a lot of cleanup.
It might be it could be where Bowden's parked. They may have to. Yeah, he's right at the edge of the track there in turn 2. That turn 2, as they call it, right at the bridge. Between 1 and 3. This should be a pretty quick pull out of there. This doesn't do much for our chances of seeing a 12th lap. As this may turn into about a 2-lap sprint when we go green. And we saw McAllister make the aggressive move on the straightaway on that restart. Maybe he learned a little lesson about making sure he holds position on Aquilante if he has one more shot at it. Hoping maybe Andrew used up his tires on this last couple of turns.
And that's the thing that's not often talked about on restarts. Yes, you have the tire temperatures to think about and relative positioning and all of that, but not much talked about is what you learn about the competitors around you before you get that restart. You don't have that information necessarily at the beginning of the race, going in cold, as it were. But on a restart, now you know how fast, that guy accelerates or that guy corners.
And Andrew's got that same information. Now he knows, he can stay on the outside of McAllister if he needs to, which he did just do there into 1 on the last restart. He also knows that when they get to the starter stand, where's the tendency of when he can go, and maybe Andrew would do a little bit different this time of pacing and making that jump, perhaps make Brad McAllister think a little bit to get less of an aggressive jump. do suspect, calculating in my head the clock, probably 2 laps of green if we go green the next time by. But don't count out there in third is, I think that's Cliff White. Cliff White, in his days of Spec Racer Ford, he was jumping between, back when there was a Spec Racer Ford, the Gen 2s to the Gen 3s. He won at Daytona in 2015. He won at Laguna Seca in 2014. He won here at Road America in 2012. In fact, this is the first race that I could find that he's run anything that wasn't a Spec Racer Ford. And here he is right now sitting in the 3rd spot in a car that is distinctly different than a Spec Ford.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully they can get Mark Bowden's car wrenched away quickly.
Yeah, tough finish for Bowden here. You know, as he had mentioned, he comes in after a long string of very consistent finishes, a championship a couple years back, had a championship last year, has walked away already with a couple of gold medals this week, and he was eyeing up that Corvette and hoping that maybe he can get by in here, maybe pick up a 3rd gold medal this week. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but I think when he looks back and sees his runoffs of 2020 and says, you know, 2 gold medals look pretty good. You know, maybe a damaged car isn't the best way to go home, but
Right.
he's still doing it all, and still in this field. Back there's his teammate there is Thomas Herb sitting right in 5th, so still has a car in the field that he'll be rooting for when this green goes before the end of this race. So keep your eye on that other fall line Porsche back in the 5th spot.
It's interesting, through the 20-plus classes that have preceded this race in GT2, we have seen occasional red or black flags to bring the field to a stop, to freeze the clock, usually for the repair of trackside fencing to maintain safety levels. You just wonder about the thinking that goes into, well, do we throw a red, do we throw a black, do we try to freeze the clock and preserve some green flag running at the end of the race? Schedules are important, and it is a packed schedule with 26 classes here, as you can imagine.
Yeah, well, I know they try to make sure every race gets beyond the 50% mark. That's at least a minimum. So with the 13-lap schedules, they want to make sure they at least get to 7. So we're already at 9 here, obviously clear of that. They obviously don't like finishing under a yellow either, so we want to make sure we shoot to have at least a green lap. And here at the 4-minute mark, I'd like to get around somewhere before the 2:20 mark. We could be green flag before 2:20. That should give us a shot at 2 flying laps.
Jorge Nazario's Corvette displays the logo, No es fácil racing. Racing is not easy. And he's right.
Look at all the leaves on those radiator inlets in all of these cars. A great shot here as they're coming down after the carousel. You can see all the leaves just piling up on this fall day, and they're just blowing all over the place. Whereas a week ago, as we were out here for the practice in the early days of qualifying, they weren't falling as much. As essentially as fall is color changing. The peak season has just passed through while we've been here for this runoffs.
It is beautiful, but it's also treacherous when those leaves start to fall, and as you mentioned, Larry, blow around in the breeze that's been a constant presence through the weekend thus far.
And treacherous for Mark Bowden there in turn 1 as well.
Front end right corner damage. Hopefully not much more than that. And here we go. We're having to repair the track wall.
Hope this is quick. I'm sure that the safety car is trying to go as slow as he can without going too slow, so we give these guys a chance to get this fixed quickly and get out of there so we can go green.
Less than 2.5 minutes still on the clock, but there is still time, and as you see, the crew is hustling. Thanks for that. Okay, now the vehicles will clear the scene. And it looks like we might be ready for...
Let's watch the lights and get the call. We'll see.
Green, white checker. No, we won't get 2 laps, but we'll get 1. Hope, hope, hope.
Lights are still on, though.
Lights are still on.
Let's see what they decide to do here as they come up the hill. Wait to see what flags do we have waving at the stand.
Well, we can't fault the thinking of the race director and the stewards because we don't have their information. All we have is the fans' emotion, the desire to see these racers who have worked so hard to get here have the chance to thrash it out.
All I see is the yellow for the full course yellow.
Right.
Don't see a white. So we'll have to wait and see. We're not getting any official word yet. We do see the clock. We'll get a shot here as they come through one at the condition of our walls and our safety vehicles. But they appear to be clear, so.
It's ready to go. The clock will tick down to 0 before they get back to start-finish.
We'll see if they get a checker or if we get something else.
We had a lengthy yellow flag period in some of the earlier racing, so we're a bit behind on time. So there's the matter of the ambient light, that mist we keep hearing about.
Everyone keeping heat in the tires just in case. We're not getting any word yet, though. I haven't seen a situation quite like this in the last couple of years. If they get one flyer, it's going to make that turn one with McAllister and Aquilante very, very interesting.
Oh, boy. That would be just the first in a book of 14 chapters, one for each corner, if they get a lap.
See, we might see possibly green-white checker. Maybe. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what the drivers are being told because they're still fairly strung out. If they were anticipating a restart, I would think they would bunch up, and that may be what they're doing right now as I speak.
Yeah, you would think if they're being told to restart, then they would continue to warm the tires, but if they're just expecting to come in, then... Well, this will be super exciting if we do get one more flying lap, I'll tell you that. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Many, many years ago, I covered a sports car race, and I had a guest co-commentator, race driver Whitney Gantz. Terrific guy, good driver, who billed himself as the world's fastest art history major. But before the start of the race, we watched the cars doing all of this, weaving back and forth, and discussed the tire temperature and so forth. And I asked him, why do you do that? He said, I do it because everybody else does it.
I think we're going to get a green here.
I think we are.
One
The lights
lap.
are out on the safety car.
Watch McAllister and for White and see if they both try to get a push on Aquilante.
Safety car's not there. It goes off the track. Aquilante still working those tires.
Should be white and green as they come by. And even Barcow, he wants a piece of this.
And here we go.
I don't even see a white.
No.
I just see green. Are we going to get 2 laps?
Oh, I hope so.
No pass yet. It's going to fall in line.
Everybody behaving here. I wonder if it took them by surprise that they got a green flag. I mentioned they didn't seem to be closing it up very tightly, and they didn't. Aquilante immediately opens up about 4 car lengths.
Cliff White's going to be aggressive, though. He says, well, I'm not happy with the bronze, and I've got a Rhett Barcow behind me who wants it, so I'm just going to go after that silver if I can get it. But right now, he's going to push McAllister. Rhett Barcow says, I want that bronze.
Absolutely.
He would look good with his bright orange Dukes of Hazzard car.
The hill to turn 6 they go.
Andrew Aquilante already off in the distance there.
Yeah. He knows his car.
He's so good on cold restarts.
Allister, White, and Barcow. This is the battle. Second and third. 2 of the 3 medals on the podium. Doesn't look like it's going to be a gold. But a medal is an honor. Just finishing here at the Runoffs is a privilege.
One of these 3 is going to have to get really aggressive. Someone's going to be braking late. Someone's going to stick their nose in. And if we get a white flag next time by, we're going to probably see that in 1 and very likely again in 5.
Cliff White's car seems to be very sensitive to the bumps. He's in that bright green painted TA car. What color will the flag be? It will be white. We will get one more lap.
Here we go. Let's watch. Speaking of white, there's Cliff a little too far back to make a move. He's going to have to get a good run off at 3 and see what he can do on the back straight. Right now, McAllister, he got a great run onto the front straight, left himself a gap. And now it comes down to who can get this turn 3 just right.
We want the big launch.
I think he's too far back. He's going to make a lunge. Good under braking.
Yep. There's still time.
He's got turn 8. If he can get a great run off of 6 through here. Otherwise, we may come down to Canada corner.
Unless we all chip in and buy another lap.
We'll do a GoFundMe. We'll get it.
There you go. Through the carousel. A lot more body roll in the 24 than in the 58. How about Barkow in the bright orange Challenger? Can he get there?
Oh, Barkow can, but I think White is going to try. He was good on the brakes going into 5. He might be too far back here into Canada.
3 cars and 2 medals at stake.
So much work with the hands for Brett Barkow there. It's a big car to handle. That is not an FE2 by any means. Can he get a run?
Oh,
he's under him.
White's right there. Oh, but he loses grip a bit in turn 14. Meanwhile, up front, Andrew Aquilante, the master of GT2 and the national champion. McAllister comes home second, White third. I thought White might have something for him right on his rear bumper, but in turn 14, his car just seemed to slip a little bit. Brett Barkow, fourth, followed by Thomas Erb and Thomas West. Wow. Now that was an eventful race.
Had pretty much a little bit of everything in that race, but for Aquilante, it has what he set out to do, which was to back up the championship from last year with a car that he built by himself, and to do what he's been trying for, was to get that 10th championship, which puts him in some pretty elite company, joining the likes of some really big names in the annals of SCCA lore.
And Andrew Wright, who swept the double of the Hawk and Sunoco qualifying awards and started stone last on the field in 20th position, brings that Sunbeam Tiger home 11th. Good job. Just ahead of him, Timothy Gray went from 18th to 10th. So, as you could tell, an eventful race. But kudos to this man, Andrew Aquilante.
He's able to get his 10th. We saw Mike Lewis earlier this week get his 10th. So those folks are trying to catch up with the likes of John Heimersee, who's up there with 15. And to get 1 is an achievement that folks dream a lifetime to get. he's out there with 10 of them for that relatively young man.
In case you're wondering, the record is held by Jerry Hansen, 27 national championships.
I'd love to say it's unattainable, but, you know, I also thought that getting 90 wins in Formula One was going to be unattainable as well.
Yep.
We've watched what Lewis Hamilton has done. And I thought that getting in the 50s of pole positions and what Senna had done, that was impossible. So I guess in motorsports, you never say what's impossible. And someone like Aquilante at his age and him running in 3 races, 4 races a year, if there's anyone that can do it, it's this young man right here.
14th podium medal of all types for Andrew Aquilante. And if I'm looking for a race car, I might go have a chat with him.
They do. They definitely will rent a lot of rides. They have a lot of customer rides, but it's the folks there who build them and drive them. And that man right there builds them and drives them as good as they can be driven and built.
Well, the rest of the day may be a bit of a scramble in order to get everything in, especially if there's weather on the horizon. And I'm not saying there is, but this race was pretty exciting stuff, and I think well worth the wait. So Andrew will pull down to victory lane with McAllister and White. They'll receive their medals, and we'll hear from them with Tom.
Yeah, seeing the way he was on that cool down lap and doing a little bit of extra burnouts and some slides and drifts to show his emotion a little bit. Little fist bump there. He's a very, very happy man. That's a look of satisfaction. The way his week has gone, the way his other races have gone for him this week. He's had some mechanical failures and definitely not gone his way. And this race started his way, and then the first full course yellow got back underway, and he was able to get to the lead. And then the second full course yellow, for him, it had to feel like it was never going to end. And then the clock runs out, and again, he has to go back and turn 2 more laps.
Yep.
It's had to be satisfying.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what was communicated to the racers. Are you going to get any laps? Are you going to get 1, much less 2 more laps? What are the racing gods doing? They're playing with us.
In the end, they still got all 13.
Even the flagman doing selfies. How about that? All right, let's go down to Tom O'Gorman.
Well, Andrew, it was a bit of a disjointed race, but every time you got the chance, you put your stamp on it. After the week you've had, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, this has been an interesting week. How about an interesting year? Yeah. And that was an interesting race because, first off, hope Jonathan and Mark are okay. That looked like a pretty big hit for Jonathan. Mark's didn't look as bad, but still wish him well. Oh, look, my glasses are fogging up. This week has been a little bit rough. Even with this car, some issues that cropped up before we left, and some kind of MacGyver fixes that are, okay, it worked, it lasted, so that's good news. And here we are. So thanks to Phoenix Performance, my mom and dad, all the guys at the shop, Kurt, Marshall, Mark, Larry, Bob, Lars, Tammy in the office, and then a few of our fly-in guys, Rob, Larry, and Ken, for coming out and doing this, especially with the times that we're in. Thanks to Hoosier Tires. You know, one of these years they're going to stop saying that, I'm going to fall off at the end of the race and all this sort of thing, because I'm already gone by turn 1. And, the A7 tire is every bit as much as any slick out there. And that's part of our secret, because as you could see, we got blown out on that restart. So, Hawk Brakes, Ron Davis Radiators, they do great work for us. Penske Racing Shocks makes this thing handle, and Mobil One Oil keeps everything alive, and here we are.
Well, MacGyver not have brought you a gold medal. Congratulations.
Andrew didn't leave much credit for himself. He thanked everybody else for everything they did to make the car what it was. But somebody had to be the nut behind the wheel, And it's him.
He did well. They turned that nut just perfectly to manage that race and come home victorious.
Andrew Aquilante is the national champion. Brad McAllister comes home a hard-earned second. Then Cliff White, Rhett Barkow, we thought might have something at the end, but it never materialized. Thomas Erb in the Porsche, and Thomas West. Jorge Nazario from deep in the pack. Ole Thordarson, Jim Valdez, and Timothy Gray, your top 10. Now let's get back to Tom.
Well, Brad McAllister, a few dents and dings along the way, but it's a silver medal around your neck. How was it out there?
Well, I wish we'd have had more green laps, a little bit more racing, but while we were racing, it was phenomenal. A lot of rubbing and racing and carrying on. It was fantastic. We were really lucky. We had an engine fire on Monday. We've just been cranking all week just to put it back together. Car was running perfect. The Hoosier tires hooked up. They were just perfect. So it was a lot of fun out there.
Well, congratulations. Gave it a good go, especially on that second restart. Congratulations again on the silver medal.
Thank you very much.
We'll bring in third place. This will be Cliff White. Call him over. Cliff, just like a spec racer, right?
Yeah, just like a spec racer.
So you guys got a couple of restarts, and what was going through your mind on the last green-white checker? Did you expect it, and were you excited or nervous about it?
I was probably okay with both. You know, that Challenger has a significant straightaway handling advantage. So I wanted to make sure that I got a good start on that one and defend the inside, because I know I can brake about 50 to 75 feet deeper than he can. So I know I can defend as long as I don't get him side by side with me into any of the corners. Sorry about that. I gotta mask up. Yeah, no, I mean, it was great racing. A little dangerous out there, but you know, all in all, good day.
Well, congratulations on the bronze medal at Road America.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's another example of how the SCCA national runoffs differ from some professional race you might go to. You never hear about the fact that somebody blew up or something broke or the family matters that somehow intervene and make life a little more complicated. A look at the highlights. Andrew Aquilante dominated the initial start. Mark Bowden in that blue Porsche slotting into second, but then the action got serious. Contact between cars, several heavy accidents. Aquilante able to get his arms around the field early on. Some great on-track passes, like this one. Through turn 5 and up the hill. That one authored by Jonathan Start, but later on, Start found himself in that situation after contact put him into the trackside tire wall. Long yellow flag. Restart. Andrew Aquilante beaten out at that point, but able to get it back, while behind him, Mark Bowden, without contact with any other car that we could see, went off driver's right and brought out the safety car again. The late going, great battle there for second and third. McAllister, White, Barkow all involved, but none would touch this man, Andrew Aquilante, who dominated the race, a perfectly judged drive that took him to the national championship over silver medalist Brad McAllister and bronze medalist Cliff White. Great race in GT2, plenty more to come, but for now, congratulations to GT2 national champion Andrew Aquilante.